I'm Debbie Howard, reporting from WCU Dallas, Epidemiology 306, Spring 2 Term 2015. And today I have Caroline Day here to speak with me about the avian bird flu. Hi, Caroline. Can you tell me why the scientists performed this study?
Yes, this study is done to study avian bird flu among poultry workers in Bangladesh. They performed the study to explore the prevalence of avian bird flu among poultry workers here. This is done because this is a public health threat to humans, and we need to find more knowledge about the potential risk factors for acquiring the disease. There is a clear connection between the exposure to the flu and acquiring the disease. So we need to know a little bit more about what behaviors are causing this.
That's interesting, very interesting. Okay, can you tell me what the hypothesis is behind this study?
The hypothesis is that certain high-risk behaviors cause individuals to be at risk for acquiring avian influenza.
Okay. Were there any major techniques related to this study?
Yes, the researchers chose to follow workers at live bird markets that were already being closely watched for avian influenza. 721 workers were eligible to participate in the study. All were between the ages of 18 and 59 years old. 404 workers actually participated in the study, and all were tested for bird flu in the beginning of the study. 9 tested positive for the virus at their baseline. They also chose another 101 workers that did not work around poultry at all, and they were participating as part of the control group. All workers, including the control group, were tested for the avian influenza and given questionnaires about their demographics and what kind of work they participated in. The researchers also followed up with the participants one time a year after enrollment in the study, and they were tested again. Their blood was tested again for the avian bird flu, and researchers looked at the number of participants who had produced antibodies against the H5N1 virus in their blood, and the researchers took this number and used it to calculate the percentage of workers infected with the virus annually.
Interesting. Interesting. Can you tell me if there were any major results, and if there were, did they support or negate the hypothesis, and do they point to any further studies?
Yes, the study followed the 404 workers. 332 of these subjects were from Dhaka, and 72 were from rural areas. The poultry workers were younger and more likely to be male and more likely to smoke than the control group. 278 poultry workers were followed among live bird markets where H5N1 had already been detected through poultry surveillance. 266 of these workers were negative for the virus at baseline. So the results showed that 7 out of 100 workers contracted the virus every year. So the researchers used these numbers in order to estimate the annual number of cases contracted every year.
Thank you. And that concludes our
No, it doesn't.
it concludes our report.
Oh.
And now we're going to discuss the reason why we've chosen to review this article, as well as what we found is interesting and informative, as well as the things that we found interesting, informative, and we're going to give you our honest opinion about that.
Yeah, we chose this article actually because it was a scholarly article among the lines of what we wanted to do for this research, and we thought that avian bird flu was really interesting, especially among what's happening in the U.S. with the avian bird flu now, since the bird markets have been forced to euthanize millions of birds, and it's becoming a major issue here.
And in addition, until I read this article, I did not even know that the avian flu existed in the United States. They were also They were also discussing on the news that the cost of eggs could possibly be affected by this avian bird flu as well.
And there were parts of this article that we felt weren't really clear. I really think that that's probably just the nature of the research because it's kind of above our heads right now in our level of school. But regardless of that, we still really found it interesting. And we thought the strengths of the article were the sample size. The sample size was actually really large. So that was a really good strength. And it does shed a lot of light on the transmission of bird flu from birds to humans. And that's something that we really do need to know more about.
Right. Excuse me. Also, some of the limitations are that they do not test specific behaviors and interventions. However, for those behaviors to limit infection, and that could be future research that could be done about this topic.
Exactly. Something that they could actually test is a specific thing like the hand washing. And even though you're working with infected birds, maybe if you're washing your hands afterwards, it drastically reduces your risk of infection, or maybe it stays the same. It's something that they probably need to do a little bit more research about.
Yeah. And so the public health implications for this article are really interesting considering the current outbreak of the avian influenza in the United States. We think that it's incredibly important to identify certain high-risk behaviors that promote transmission to humans, and that we do our best to avoid those behaviors and to protect workers to the best of our abilities so that we don't have an outbreak of an avian influenza among the human population.
Thank you for being here with us today to watch our report on avian influenza. We hope that you learned something from this information, and we hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.